when you're going into it, I know each song probably has a different emotion, but is there something you're aiming to make the audience feel, or there's something you're trying to pull out of yourself? What are you looking for when you write a song?
I was listening to the album that I just dropped, and I was like, I wrote these. Like, I don't remember writing them half the time. I would say I want people to feel the emotion that I feel. The last couple months, I've really realized what it is, and it's like just me pouring my heart out.
Welcome to Green Country Conversations, the podcast where we hear the stories and learn about the people that make Northeast Oklahoma truly special. I'm Maverick Pitchford, owner of Bison Ridge Insurance, and I'm your host. Today we're going to have on an independent country artist who just released her first album in November of 2024. But let's first take a minute and thank our sponsors.
Hi there. This is the point of the podcast where I'd like to thank our amazing sponsor, but we don't have one yet. If you're a business owner and you're interested in sponsoring the Green Country Conversations podcast and getting your business information out to hundreds of listeners across the Green Country area, please reach out to me. My email is maverick@bisonridgeinsurance.com. Let's avoid this awkwardness next time.
Alrighty, Emily Hollingshed, thank you so much for joining us on Green Country Conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super excited. We're going to get into some icebreaker questions here. First question, if you could live inside any TV show, what would you pick?
Oh, goodness. I don't really watch TV, but maybe Suits.
Suits, that's an awesome one. My wife and I binged that one through COVID. It was a great show. Definitely recommend if you haven't watched it to watch it. If you could perform a duet with any musical duo or any musician, living or dead, who would it be?
Probably Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings. That's funny. In my head before this, I was trying to think of who you would say, and it was right along those lines. Why would you pick him?
Oh man, it's a huge inspiration. Him and Johnny Cash both. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just who I really listen to, and I like him a lot, I guess.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is your favorite Waylon Jennings song? Do you have like a number
I've
one?
always been crazy.
What was it?
I've always been crazy.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What's the most unusual or funny place you've ever performed?
Oh man. Unusual. Probably Pops in Arcadia. I just walked in and started playing. I got challenged by, I'll just say, a grumpy old man. That's what my code name for him is. But he told me to just walk in, and I did, and they loved it. It was really cool.
That's super fun. That's so cool. I bet there are a lot of stories that come from that.
Yeah.
If you were a song, if your life was a song, what would the title be?
Oh man. I don't know. That's a really good question. Probably Livin, Livin.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
There's a whole backstory to that, but we won't even get into that.
That's awesome. That's
Oh,
awesome.
man.
Alrighty, so we're gonna get into some industry talk here. My first question would be, what inspired you to get started as a musician? Obviously, I've known you for a while. I know that you played growing up in church and those type of things. So would love to kind of hear the backstory that got you into, wanting to follow this more than just a hobby, right? Because you're making a career out of it. So what's been your inspiration for that?
Well, growing up, my mom's dad, his name's Junior. He was a big picker, and so we get in like picking circles and just kind of hang out and play Merle Haggard and like all the old country, and I just really loved it. It was what I grew up on, and just it was really cool to see everybody come together. And I started doing shows at like 15, just like 3 or 4 a year, and then I started at a place called the Other Bar that's now shut down in Coweta, but I started there and I started doing gigs and gigs and gigs, and then I was like, I worked at a hospital in Tulsa, and I had a sit down conversation with my parents, and I was like, I think I want to do this full time. And so let me fix this real quick, sorry.
You're good.
So I quit my job and I went full time, and I couldn't be happier. It's a lot of work, but man, it's so worth it.
That's super awesome. So how long have you been doing this full time now?
Since September 23.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you're just at the beginning. It's super fun to watch on social media, watch you grow and you just keep grinding at it. It's super inspirational. Can Can you tell us about the emotions or stories that you aim to capture when you write a song? Because I know you write, if not all, I know you write some of your songs. So tell me kind of when you're going into it. I know each song probably has a different emotion, but is there something you're aiming to make the audience feel, or there's something you're trying to pull out of yourself? What are you looking for when you write a song?
In reality, sometimes, well, writing comes different to me. A lot of people they struggle when they write in, not in a boastful way at all, but I kind of just sit down and I start playing and things just kind of flow out and I get done with them. And I was listening to the album that I just dropped and I was like, I wrote these. Like, I don't remember writing them half the time. And I have probably 1,200 songs on my phone that
Wow.
I don't know. I kind of, at first, I really started writing and realized that I don't really write about me a whole lot of the time. But this album is 100% me, and there's a lot of stories behind it. But I would say I want people to feel the emotion that I feel, but at the same time, I feel like music and writing songs and playing my songs, performing, it's kind of a release to me. It's like, and I've never felt that before, except for the last couple months. I've really realized what it is, and it's like just me pouring my heart out and kind of just not. I don't really know how to say that without it being like weird, but I don't know. I feel like it's a really just good emotional release for me, I
Yeah,
guess.
I mean, I don't think it's weird. I think that if you look at all the people who have blown up over the last few years, it seems to me, from someone not in the industry, right? Someone who just consumes country music, the guys and the girls who are blowing up are the people who are very authentic and are
Yeah.
just them, right? Exactly what you're talking about. And it's because people connect to that. I think people, especially nowadays in a world where social media is so big, everyone has their BS radar on at all times, right? And
Yeah.
so when you're being authentic, I think that's what people connect with, right?
And I feel like that was
Um,
a huge shift in the industry is that everything, like, it used to be, okay, they have a pretty face, pretty whatever.
yeah,
But now I feel like there was a huge shift and it's very, very, just authentic. So I love that.
yeah, for sure. Um, what is the name of your album before we go any further?
The name of my album is Think of Me.
Think of Me. That's amazing. And
Yeah, that's my title
is
track.
there a song? Okay, title track. So how did you kind of come to that name?
Well, we were trying to think of it. We were trying to think of an album name, and I kind of was starting from the bottom and working my way up. I've came a really, really freaking long ways in a year, and I'm. I would say I know humble people don't say that they're humble, but I'm a very humble person. I remember my roots, and I know where I came from, and
Yeah,
I'm kind of at a point in my life where I'm just kind of like not in a hateful way, but kind of like a remember me when type situation. Like if I ever do blow
right.
up, like I hope that people remember who I am, even if I don't talk to them, because I don't want people to assume that I'm a certain way, if that makes sense. And so I
No,
was like,
yeah.
remember me when, maybe. And then I wrote Think of Me, and Think of Me is well, that is kind of a not humble song, I guess, but
No, I think I completely
reasons.
understand what you mean there. Yeah, definitely. I think of all the time that, especially, obviously being in the business world, but also being in music industry, we're all kind of grinding towards reaching our dreams, right? And I think
Mhm.
of all the time the feeling that you get whenever you eventually get to the point where someone says, "Oh, that must be nice. Oh, they have it so easy," because they don't see all of the, years upon years upon years you put in the hard work. And so,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you're like, just remember this, remember the grind that I did whenever you're thinking that it's something different. So that's amazing. Um, correct me if I'm wrong. You're an independent artist, right? Or independent
I
musician.
am.
Okay.
Yes.
So what has been the biggest challenge you faced as an independent musician so far?
Um, I'd say kind of the BS that goes along with everything.
Yeah.
um, I book I book all my shows, and I like everything is on me. I deal with my merch. I deal with booking. I deal with promotion. I deal with writing. I deal with recording. All of that. And at first, I feel like I'm not like women have it harder than men type of person, but I at first it was I've always heard that it's harder for women to get booked, and I feel like that's not the case with me in certain aspects. But I've made a lot of connections to where I don't have to deal with all of that. But probably like the booking and the pre-show part of it, I
Yeah,
guess. Figuring
yeah,
out like, what's on your riders and all of that. And
right.
it shouldn't be difficult, but I make it difficult. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that like when I think about my business, starting out from nothing and doing every single portion of the business yourself gives you such an appreciation and such a understanding of the business and what you're doing. I mean, you're obviously in a completely different industry and it's a completely different world, but you're still a business, right? You're still growing something. And whenever you do have that big team, whenever you do have a booking agent and a manager and a merch person, you're going to know exactly how you want it done because you created it from the ground up.
yeah,
And I think that that gives it
exactly.
such a big advantage that
Yeah,
if you just get cherry picked in and put into a situation, you don't have all that. So I think that
yeah.
though it's a struggle, I think that in the long run, it's going to be a huge advantage for
Absolutely.
you. Yeah,
I
for sure.
100% agree.
So where's the best place people can listen to your album?
It's on all streaming platforms, on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, whatever you listen to music on.
That's amazing. How do you approach songwriting? I know we've kind of already gone about this. Do you have a typical process? Because I know that there's some people who like to write down, everything by pen and paper. Some people like to type. What is kind of your process, and do you have a typical routine? Are you still trying to figure out that routine?
What's a routine? No, no, not at all. I've been dealing with like moving and stuff. We've been back and forth. And so it's kind of hectic right here, but usually I'll sit down like on the floor and I'll just have my guitar and I'll just start playing. And words kind of just flow out, like I said earlier. And I used to be a big pen and paper person. I am with everything else, but I feel like words come out so fast that I can't write at that. And I'll just honestly like I sat at my friend's house the other day. We were having like ribs, and I just sat down. I wrote a whole song like right then and there. And it's not really a routine. It's not really anything like that I can really control. I just if I hear something, I'll be driving down the road and I'll have to write it down, or I'll record like a melody that I think, and it's kind of cringy, but it works. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. I wish I had that ability. Are you typically writing? Do you, does it typically come melody first or lyrics first, or is it just a mix of kind of what you're hearing? What is kind of the? Is
it
there a
mostly
normal
comes
way
out
that
at
it goes?
once.
All at once. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I know that
No,
I
it's
listened
super
to I
fast.
listened to a podcast once where they talked about I don't remember who it was, but they always write melody first, and that's just mind-boggling to me because that's not how my mind works. And so I was
Yeah.
like, that's so interesting that they write the melody and then they switch it over and try to figure out the lyrics. That's super cool.
Sometimes it
Um,
is lyrics and then melody, but most of the time it's
yeah,
together.
that's super cool. That's awesome. So obviously you've played, I think a myriad of different locations and you're working as your career grows and it'll be cool to be able to come back and look whenever you're a really big artist and be like, oh, she talked about this at this time. But I'm curious to see what's your most memorable place you played from. You've played dive bars, I know you've played some festivals. What's been your most memorable experience or performance so far?
Oh man, there's good and there's bad. I don't know.
How
I've
about
I've
how
liked
about
it
how about we
all.
how about we just stick to the good? What's a good one?
Um, Man, probably I'd say Vanguard in Tulsa. The first time we played that, it was a really big shift in like emotion on stage. I've never been like an out there performer, and I feel like it really kind of it's a smaller stage, but it was bigger for me. Like we played Coweta this year, and it was a huge deal for
Yeah,
us.
that's
This
crazy.
was
Yeah, that's
it
amazing.
was insane to do that. But I feel like Coweta was our sixth show as a band, so we were
That's
very new,
amazing.
very
Yeah.
very new. But we
Wow.
did Vanguard, and it was a very big shift, and I feel like that's kind of when I knew that everything was clicking, and so everybody tells you
That's
like your band's good or whatever, and I mean, I know they're good. Like, don't get me wrong. My dad's my bass player,
right, right.
I have a really solid band, and it's complete luck and God kind of just throwing
Yeah.
it out there. But none of our members have changed. We've had a few fill-ins, but I feel like that was the show that I was like, okay, that's okay. I like that.
That's so funny. That's amazing. That's I'm sure that everyone has that experience where they have that one show that they'll be able to look back on and be like, this is kind of where the corner, we turned the corner and things really started going up. And I'm sure there's going to be 5 or 6 more that you have across your career where you're like, okay, well, we got to this plateau and then we hit another one. And so it'd be cool to kind of get to watch your career as you grow.
Yeah.
Um, if you could only play one song for the rest of your life, what would that be? I know that's a huge decision for someone who plays music for a living and they're like only one song, but if you had one song, what would it be?
That is, let's see. If it wasn't mine, I'd probably say Amazing Grace. But
Okay.
if it was mine, I'd probably I'm really hung on or it's called Answer the Phone. It's one of mine, but it's
Yeah.
very heavy on my heart right now.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And then obviously, I know you're just starting out, but I think that no matter what point you're at in your career or in your journey, there's always advice to be given. So, what is one piece of advice you could give someone who's just starting out in music?
Oh man, I'd probably say make all the connections and just don't be shy, but don't be out there. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
for sure. No, I mean, I completely agree. When people ask me, getting started in business, what is, starting young, what's something you could recommend to someone? I tell people every single time, don't be afraid to ask the questions, right? I think that
Yeah,
obviously I'm a little bit older than you, but I think that people in our age group, they are deathly afraid of just talking to people, asking questions and making the connections, like you said. And truly, like networking and meeting people are going to get you indoors that any college degree or any outside of that is going to be able to get you into those doors. And I think that the worst thing people are going to say is no, right? I've made so many connections in my career so far just because I simply saw someone who was doing something that I admired and said, hey, can I learn from you? And typically people are always at least willing to hear you out, and give you a little
yeah.
bit of a piece of advice. So
Hun-
we're gonna get into our staples here. These are gonna be 2 questions we ask in every episode. So the first one being, what would be your perfect day exploring, the Coweta area, the surrounding Game Country area? Maybe give me, kind of what your perfect day looks like.
I'm a big fisherwoman.
Yeah,
So I love to fish and do any outdoor things, but probably having like my musician friends and my non-musician friends over for like a bonfire and just picking around the fire.
that's
That's where
amazing.
home's at for me. So
For sure, definitely. Yeah, I think that overall, these episodes, we've come to realize that it's typically always maybe not the thing you're doing, but the people that are surrounding you. And
mm,
if you have the right people surrounding you, it makes any experience great, right?
mm.
So, what is one place in Green Country, maybe a venue that you've played that people don't know of, a restaurant, something that maybe is a hidden gem that you feel like people should know more about that you could, shout out or say, hey, check this place out?
I'd probably say the Vanguard.
The Vanguard?
Yeah.
What is it about the Vanguard that makes it so great, do you think?
The people. It's really fun to play there, but I'd definitely
Yeah,
say the people and just the environment. They take really good care of it and they treat you really well. So,
for sure. That's amazing. Well, Emily, we're going to start wrapping up here. Do you have any upcoming, local shows that people can go? Anything you'd like to promote? Obviously, your album is out. Maybe tell the name again, where you can find it.
yeah, stream Think of Me on all platforms. Yeah, we have, I'm playing the Canes December 19th with a local band. We're going to be co-headlining. It's going to be me and the Bison Bash, or it's the Bison Bash, me and the Bison Band. And, yeah, so we're going to have some other local artists come join, and it's going to be a really good time.
That's amazing. What day is that?
That is December 19th. It's on a Thursday.
December December 19th. That'll be amazing. Um, so December 19th, check it out. Emily, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you just sharing your passion for music. I think that if people haven't already followed you on social medias, definitely do so. Give a shout out. What's your social media following or your social media headlines?
My social media is Emily Hollingshed Music on all
Definitely. Well,
platforms.
Emily, I really appreciate it. Everyone, all the listeners, go give her a follow. We're gonna see her, big star someday, and we'll be able to say, "Hey, she was on the Green Country Conversations podcast at the very beginning." But Emily, to wrap this up, I appreciate you what you do. I appreciate you making Green Country a great place to live, and I look forward to watching your career in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
For sure, definitely. We'll talk to you later.